Hello and good morning. My name is Tori Patterson, and today we are going to cover English grammar fundamentals, past, present, future, perfect verb tenses, and irregular past participles. And the theme of our class today will be animal undersea adventure. We're going to be traveling under the water, under the ocean, with various different animals who are going to help us figure out how to use these things. What is a past, present, or future perfect verb tense? What is a irregular past participle? My name is Tori Patterson, and today we're going to take a dive underneath the ocean and find out a little bit more about these strange parts of English and how they can help us talk and communicate. What are verb tenses? Well, verb tenses tells us about when something happens. Everything that we do in life happens at a certain place and a certain time. And we like to be able to tell each other about that, to tell your parents about what you did at school, to tell your friends what you want to do next weekend. Maybe you have a birthday party coming up. Maybe you're going to go get a new pet. There's all kinds of things and all kinds of ways we can interface and talk about when things happen around us. So, for example, we could say the pink octopus hides next to a boat. That's just a regular, normal present tense expression. There's a pink octopus, it's hiding next to the boat. It's happening kind of right now. Okay, but we can also say things a little bit more complicated and a little bit more specific and precise. For example, 10 blue fish have made this coral reef their new home. This has the present perfect verb tense. The present perfect tells us something that's happening relatively now, but it's already happened. So it's something that has happened, but it's pretty soon. So for example, I could say, has anyone here, have you made did you make your bed or have you made your bed before you came to school today? Some people make their beds before they leave their home. Some people don't. But if I say Anna has made her bed before she came to school, well, we know that took place today because Anna is here in the class with us, and she said that she made her bed before she came here. So it was in the past, but it's for the most part today. However, you can also talk about things that have happened in the past. For example, a couple of days ago. And we call that a past perfect tense. So let's look at an example. Local fishermen had seen 10 new fish. Yeah, these fishermen a couple of days ago saw 10 new fish. And then they went on to do something else. That is how we know it's the past perfect verb tense. When one thing happens and then something happens after that, we can use this particular format. We can also describe things that happened in the future, but it's still, for the most part, an activity that will have been done already. So it's in the future, but it's a little bit in the past. And we call those future perfect tenses. Our example, our mail will have come in by the time we return. Yeah, so we're expecting some mail, right? And we know that the mail is going to get here. It's going to arrive at our submarine base, but it will arrive before we get back. So by the time in the future we get back to base, the mail would have already been there. So we could say our mail will have come in by the time we return. I have mail, and many times I am not home when the mail arrives. So I know by the time I go home, my mail will be waiting for me. How cool is that? We can use these to tell and explain what is going on in our lives with a little bit more precision. Let's go ahead and take another look in more detail about these tenses. So we're going to start with the past perfect tense. This talks about an event that happened in the past. I will go ahead and volunteer to read some examples for us. Now, we are under the water and we have a lot of our furry friends with us, and they're taking an undersea adventure and they're going to talk and explain to their friends about it. So, for example, I had helped my underwater team prepare for our dive. Now, look, I had helped. The had shows us that it's in the past perfect tense or in the perfect tense. That talks about something that's already happened. So, obviously, our cat commander here under the water, well, he says, I helped my underwater team prepare for our dive because it happened already. It's over. Cat had explained what fish to look out for. Well, hey, I'm swimming around here. I'm looking for all kinds of fish. And my co-diver, Cat, told me yesterday what fish to look out for because they're really pretty. So she had explained what fish to look out for to describe an activity that already happened. Also, my sonar, and the sonar is it's a little device that helps us use echolocation to find things. It just uses sound to help us find out where things are. Maybe sometimes we can't see, and the sonar helps us do that. Okay, so my sonar had shown that there are two sharks. There's two sharks out there. We got to be careful. But now we know about it because my device, my sonar, had told me already. You see, it happened in the past, and we're just talking about it. So, CAT commanders would remember. I would encourage us all to remember. All we have to do is have the word had plus a past participle, which is the past form of many of different verbs that we know. And to make it negative, to say that you did not do something in the past, you add a not. So, for example, I had asked my teacher for some help yesterday, and my friend had not asked me to go to lunch with him. What are some things you could see here that our cat friend is looking at? It looks like maybe an octopus, a lobster, and some sharks. And look what he says. That was the most beautiful lobster I had ever seen. Let's take a look at present perfect tense, okay? This tells us about what's happening now. Captain Cat has told her team she is safe. Commanders Kit and Mew have reviewed our whale data. He told me that they have sent more batteries, and they have not transmitted their report yet. Now remember, these things happened before, but they're happening for the most part right now, reasonably soon. So we have two of our cat commanders here that are overseeing the dive operation. Look at what they say. One is telling to the other, tell me again what our crew have told us about how tasty the fish are. Okay, so we know we have our kitty divers under the water, and they told us yesterday, uh, or they could have told us a few minutes ago how nice the fish are. So we're excited. This talks about something that happened now, but it's already happened. Okay, so it can be a little tricky, and we will practice. So don't worry. So again, I could say that I have gave an English class today, right? I just had a class. I have just gave an English class, right? Um, half of our class, half of our class today has read their assignment, but the other half of the class has made artwork for our class today. It's very easy. You just add have or has plus the past participle. And to make it negative, you just add not. So, again, we will practice this. So, don't worry. It's really easy. We can see that if I were to just say, if you were to come up and Timothy has told me his story, well, Timothy told me the story 10 minutes ago, but we still did it today. So we would say it's the present perfect. What are some other things that you think of when you want to tell your friend about something you did just recently? Hey, Tommy, have you saw that new movie? Have you saw the new school announcements? All of these are perfectly acceptable examples of the present perfect tense. Future perfect. This tells us about things that will be completed before sometime in the future. I hope my team will have saved food for me. Sea-base Blackpaw will have closed by the time we get back. My flashlight battery will have not recharged in time for night. These are things that will happen in the future, but by the time we talk about them, it will be over. So, okay, we know in 2 hours it will be time for lunch in 2 hours. So, I can also say, I hope that there will still be more cake left for us in the cafeteria. No one wants to go to lunch and there's no more cake or cookies. So it's nice to know that before you go. Our friend here, another kitty diver, says, I wonder if my tuna will have turned cold by the time I return. These are things that will happen in the future, but by the time we talk about them, it happened already. So we will use this form, will have plus past participle, and will have not plus past participle. This just again allows us to talk about things that will happen in the future, but we will have completed it by some time before that. So, for example, hey, some of us like to go to the beach. We definitely want to know that the beach will have been cleaned by the time we go there. No one wants to go to a dirty beach. And so we will also practice this. So what are some other things that you think you will have to do when you go home? Many of us will have to do homework when we go home. We are not at home now, but we will go home later. And when we arrive home, we will have to do homework then. You see? It's a way for us to describe things that we expect will be completed in the future. Okay, so this can be a little tricky. We These are irregular past participles. We use these words as an alternative form that tells us about events in the past. The, these are very similar to past perfect participle words, but these words are irregular. That means they have different forms. They are spelled differently, but they still explain the same thing. Let's look at some examples. I did not know where my cat pilot had been. My old robot brought Tom my box of tools. The dolphins had eaten the bucket of squid before I got home. Oh no, they're really hungry. These are things that happened before, but we use different words to describe them. Some of these words we need to use had. Remember that? Some words do not need had. For example, my old robot brought Tom my box of tools. We, my robot, my old robot did not have brought or had brought Tom my box of tools. That doesn't really work. We just say my old robot brought Tom my box of tools. But look at this, right? The dolphins had eaten the bucket of squid. The dolphins eaten doesn't work. It doesn't exist. But we could say the dolphins had eaten. It took place in the past and they finished eating and then they did something else, which is why we use these forms of these words. We have another kitty diver that said, I never thought I would die solo. Perfect. A very fun journey with lots of fish. So let's take a review. Let's have a review. Tenses and participles. You made it. Remember, all cat commanders need to remember that verb tenses tells us when an action happens. The past form is had plus past participle or had not. Present would be have or has, or have and has not. In the future, will have or will have not. Don't forget, we have irregular past participle words. These are individual, these words are very unique and have different alternative forms, but they are still used to talk about things that happened in the past. Be sure to review this list. It will be many words you already know. So, we have to always remember when we want to talk about something that has happened in the past and stopped, just go ahead and add had, have, or will have, plus the past tense version of the word. There's a lot of things in the world that we can talk about and explore when we can talk like this and we can explain this. Even our two black and white kitty divers says that we have to strap in. Strap in, meow. We have more English grammar to find in the sea. We are just continuing our journey through learning the English language. And it's always good to know more ways to express ourselves and talk about what has happened in our lives. My name is Tori, and I am from America. I had spent many years studying to get an education, and I had also spent many years preparing to be a teacher. I have many, I have made many sacrifices to be able to come here and to do this job today. And I will have had more opportunities and more fun in the future. These were just examples of how we can use those words all together in a sentence. Now we have to find out what other adventures wait for us. We need to help Turtle find the next adventure. He's trying to figure out where have all the other turtles gone. And for our next class, we will help him find his friends. Thank you.